Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronyn in The Marriage. The sponsors of this program offer no endorsement of the opinions, philosophies, stubbornness, or confusion of the persons represented therein. However, with the conviction that marriage remains the most popular domestic arrangement between friendly people, NBC takes pleasure in presenting by transcription one of the most distinguished couples in the American theater, Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronyn as Liz and Ben Marriott in the new dramatic series, The Marriage.
Before the children were born, when I was working for Hunt's Fifth Avenue as a buyer, I used to attend a great many cocktail parties. These were the days when Ben was at law school, so we used to dine rather completely on hors d'oeuvres and restrain ourselves with difficulty from wrapping some up in a paper napkin to take home. Since then, we haven't exactly made a habit of cocktail parties. The other day, though, one of Ben's associates at the office had a party to celebrate his acquisition of a new wife. Well, naturally, we had to go along. He met us at the door with a broad grin and a martini in each hand.
Ben, what a surprise.
Surprise? We were invited, weren't we?
You're great, priceless. Oh, Mrs. Marriott, he's priceless.
Oh, I don't know. Make me an offer.
Well, two of a kind. Oh, now here, slip out of those wet things and into a dry martini.
Thanks.
Now, you'll have to excuse me. Marcia's around here somewhere. Well, Larry!
Ben, isn't that dry martini line Dorothy Parker?
Benchley, I think. Martini?
I suppose so.
What's the matter?
Look around. Nothing but black flannel suits, bare shoulders, and not a familiar collarbone in the place.
It's an advertising and television crowd. Larry's wife produces some kind of television for him.
Oh? Which one is she?
The blonde, I think. Over there by the piano.
Oh, spectacular.
Settle, Ben. Oh, you've just got to meet Marcia. You'll love her. Oh, here, have a fresh glass. We're way ahead of you, you know.
I haven't started yet.
You're great, Ben. Wait till I tell that to Marcia. Sydney, come here. You all run.
Did I say something funny?
I don't think so, but then he's way ahead of us.
I haven't had a chance to catch up.
Darling, oh, darling, I've been looking all over for you.
Ben, it's you.
Me?
You were absolutely sweet out on Fire Island. I had the grandest time.
But
I never had the chance to thank you for that lovely evening on the sailboat.
Sailboat?
And you know, you won the bet.
I have?
So I just better pay off right now.
Hey!
Isn't it lucky I didn't give you odds? Oh, it's so nice seeing you again, Chucky, dear.
Chucky?
I think perhaps I ought to tell you, I'm not Chucky. I'm Ben. Ben Marriott.
Oh, you are? Well, I suppose I should bring my glasses to parties. This sort of thing's always happening.
It is?
Come to think of it, I didn't have my glasses out in that sailboat either. Oh, well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Well, it's been nice anyway. Do you mind if I take that drink? I'm just parched. Thank you. Oh, Rosie, excuse me. Rosie, darling, guess what? It wasn't Chucky after all.
Take my handkerchief.
I swear I have never been out on Fire Island.
I wonder what the bet was.
Well, ready for a fresh drink already? Oh, Ben, you're a real booze hound, but here you are.
But I haven't had... That girl, she... Well,
I told Marcia what you said. She's dying to meet you. Hey, Jerry! Jerry, you all fired.
Booze hound? I didn't even get the olive.
Is that a martini you've got?
Here you are.
Thanks. It's rush hour in by the bar. I'll pay you back later. Marcia always did serve good martinis, but I guess you know that.
Why should I?
Oh, it's all right. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows what?
Well, it's Old Home Week. We're all here. Whitey Adelaide, the life photographer. Harry from Detroit. Johannes, what's his name, the violinist. The whole crowd.
Oh?
Where did you take over? Before that stage designer in Rome or after the press agent in Hollywood?
I must have missed something.
She sure is a lovable girl. Don't you think so?
I never met Marcia.
Did you almost marry her? I did. Johannes What's-His-Name had the license, but there was some trouble with the immigration officials. Larry was his lawyer.
I don't think I'm getting through. I've never met Marcia.
And why are you here?
You raise an interesting point.
But naturally, I thought everybody belonged to the club.
The club?
Marcia's ex-boyfriends. Just like Marcia throwing a party for all of us to meet her husband. Well, if you'll excuse me, I'll get a refill.
Hey, that's my glass.
Ben, you might just as well go on the wagon.
Hello there.
Hello.
I've been saving this lovely, cool martini for somebody like you all evening.
Well, how nice.
You are Prescott Ames, the producer, aren't you?
No, I'm sorry. I'm Ben Marriott, the lawyer.
That Ted Franklin swore you were Prescott Ames. Now, what good is a lawyer going to do me? Oh, that dirty skunk. Ted, you loaf?
Wait a minute. That drink was...
Why didn't you offer her a cut-rate divorce?
Hey there, Ben. You ready for another, huh? Oh, boy, you sure can pour it down.
Yeah, I've got a hollow leg.
Yeah. Well, how do you like her?
Marcia, we haven't met her yet.
Oh, you've just got to. Beautiful, isn't she, huh?
She's very lovely.
Very interesting, too. Ben, it's a whole new world. I don't mind telling you that girl's been around.
So I gather.
What do you think of her, Mrs. Marriott?
Oh, I envy her. I've always wanted to be around. Sometimes I sit at home with my knitting and pull my shawl around my shoulders, and I just wish I had been around.
Liz?
I know how you feel. Take Marcia's television forum. Do you know that last week we had 3 senators to dinner and an editor of the Christian Science Monitor?
We had a monitor to dinner, one of Pete's friends. He was third-floor boys' room monitor.
Elizabeth?
I suppose there is a great gulf between Marcia and, well, the ordinary housewife.
Oh, it's true. We suffer from so many occupational hazards. Dishpan hands, untidy carpet nap. Lately, I've even had rings on my sink.
Liz, cut it out.
Must be very exciting to be a woman who's, been around. I've had such an ordinary time of it.
Well, there's nothing ordinary about Marcia. Shall we drink to her? Oh, Ben, I'll have to borrow your drink.
But that...
To Marcia. It's lucky the best man didn't win. You get that? The best man didn't win?
I got it, Larry. I'm afraid we've got to be going.
Oh, not feeling well? Oh, Ben, you shouldn't drink so much. Every time I turn around, you've got an empty glass in your hand.
Well, I've had a little help.
Oh? Oh, now look, Ben. Ben, they've done wonders. I have a friend who's with them. They'll come and help you fight it even in the middle of the night. Now, you stick with it, Ben. You'll beat it.
Good night, Larry.
Give our love to Marcia. On the way home, we stopped at a little place. Well, Ben wanted a martini.
At last.
Be careful, Ben. Moderation.
Moderation. I didn't even hold a drink for more than 30 seconds.
It was quite a party. Are you sure you've never been on Fire Island?
Why do you do that?
What?
Try to give people the impression that you're a country mouse or something.
Well, I am, in a way.
You've been around.
Do you really think so, dear? Oh, you're sweet.
Oh, now, Liz, cut it out. You make people think that I stole you out of a girls' boarding school.
Well, didn't you?
How about that Princeton boy? Edward Jones III?
I only went out with him twice.
Well, then there was the one from your hometown. What was his name?
Putnam Trimble?
That's the one.
Oh, he was nothing.
Huh. And that advertising one at Hunt's, he still sends you Christmas cards. French Christmas cards.
They're lovely, aren't they?
Well, they may say Joyeuse Noël, but they don't look like Christmas.
He was a perfectly respectable man.
Is that why he was banned from the annual company picnic?
Ben, what are you trying to do? Provide me with a pass? We'd often talked about the men I'd gone out with before I married Ben. And there were a few old girls of his that became family jokes, but now the laugh seemed to have just a little edge on it. I was talking to Mother about it one afternoon when I dropped into the little antique shop she runs in Greenwich Village.
She had her ex-boyfriends at the party?
In platoons. Oh, Mother, I'm not in the way now, am I?
Oh, no, certainly not.
But you've got customers.
Oh, that's not a customer. That's a browser.
How can you tell?
Well, after a while, you develop an instinct. They used to spend their time at the cafeteria on the corner, but it instituted a 25-cent minimum check, so now I get them.
After the party, we got to talking about my old swains. Remember Put?
Oh, he was a nice boy. He's in town, you know.
No.
Oh, yes, Libby Harkness wrote me. She didn't give any details, you know, Libby, but she said he was coming in. Oh, I haven't seen that boy for years. I remember he came to see me the week before you were married. Just sat on the porch and ate everything in the fruit bowl.
He always did. Remember how we used to set out a pound of grapes? He used to swallow the seeds, too shy to do anything else.
He liked you, Elizabeth.
Oh, Mother, really?
Yes, he did. He was heartbroken when you married. I could tell.
Between pieces of fruit?
Well, yes. He ate them, but he didn't seem to have his mind on them. Oh, it seems so long ago. Remember when he took you down to Boston for that football game?
In the rumble seat. You know, I should get in touch with him.
You should.
Just to show Ben what kind of a past I really have. Nothing more exciting than Put Trimble.
Now, that isn't fair. After all, he was a few years younger than you, dear. He was always very nice to me.
He loved you, Mother.
Yes. Yes, he did. You don't suppose it was the fruit, do you?
Neither Mother nor I really expected to see Put. He was part of a world we'd both left far behind. But then, a few nights later, the world jumped and caught up with us.
Mother, it's for you.
Who do you suppose it is?
Probably Louise Begley. She'll be very brief this time. She called you.
Thank you, dear.
You're welcome.
Hello?
Elizabeth?
Yes?
Well, hello.
Hello?
I would have recognized your voice anywhere.
Who is this?
Put.
Hmm?
Put Trimble.
Put! My goodness, Put!
What is it, a motorboat?
It's Put Trimble. Well, how have you been?
How have you been?
Fine.
Well, Elizabeth?
Well, Put.
Well, we ought to get together. Elizabeth, could you come and see me? You and, Ben?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, I'm not going to be in town long. I'd just love to see you. Both of you.
Oh, it would be nice.
Tonight. Elizabeth, meet me tonight. I'm at the Hotel Mohawk.
Tonight? Well, I don't know. Ben, he wants us to meet him tonight.
Tonight?
Suppose I meet you in the Tomahawk room at the Mohawk, 10:30?
Well, I don't know. Just a minute, Put.
I have to go back now. I'll see you then.
Put? Oh, dear.
You hang up?
Put your shoes back on, Ben. We're going to the Tomahawk room at the Mohawk. I expected Ben to be absolutely furious. Once he gets his shoes off, he's settled for the evening. But somehow he didn't seem to mind. He was glowing with a quiet satisfaction as we headed downtown on the subway.
How long has it been, Liz? 15 years?
Oh, more than that. I haven't seen Put since we were married.
And he called you, eh? Wanted to see you.
What are you getting at?
Oh, nothing.
Oh, for goodness sake. Put Trimble is about as romantic as a Holstein cow. He's at the Mohawk, isn't he? That's where all the salesmen stay. He'll probably sit there just swallowing grape seeds. The Hotel Mohawk is the one where everybody meets everybody else in Times Square. It was crowded when we walked in. There was a convention of retail dry goods salesmen. The Tomahawk room was on the 8th floor. The billboard outside said, "Dance to the rhythms of Freddie Baker and his Continentals." But we went in anyway. The orchestra was on a break when we came in.
Here you are, madam.
Thank you.
You are just in time for the second show. Just a few minutes. Did you get order?
Oh, no, thank you.
Liz?
Huh?
$3.50 minimum.
Oh, I'll have a chicken sandwich and a cup of coffee.
Rye and water?
Thank you, sir.
Well, where is he?
Oh, we're a little early. Ben, do you suppose he's a retail dry goods salesman? That'd be just like Put.
You just try to keep minimizing things.
If you knew Put Trimble, you wouldn't say that. I can just see him now eating apples. He used to peel them in one piece. He'll make a perfect retail dry goods salesman.
Here come the Continentals. He'll probably dance sambas with you.
Put? He couldn't even do the Virginia reel. I remember he sent away for mail order dancing lessons before his senior prom. I helped him.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Tomahawk Room at the Hotel Mohawk.
It's getting close to 10:30.
I don't see him.
Oh, there's Freddie Baker in his Continentals. If he doesn't hurry up, he'll miss the show.
Georgia
Ben.
Manners,
What?
and a few talented
What's the matter?
lads from Le
He
Jazz
won't miss the
Paris.
show.
He
That's
won't?
the last stand of
Him,
jazz
there in
in
the
this sweet
spotlight.
commercial world.
Freddie
Such a
Baker,
club that
that's
celebrates
Put
the whole
Trimble.
Paris.
I froze. I think I snapped a swivel stick in two with my bare hands. There he was in a sport coat, dark wavy hair and a bow tie. I could see a ghost of Put Trimble about him, red check Mackinaw and galoshes. I sat transfixed through the whole show like a chicken with his nose on a chalk line. After the last number, the lights went up and he threaded his way over to the table. Ben leaned over and murmured into my ear,
Retail dry goods salesman, huh?
Well. Elizabeth, darling.
Put,
You haven't changed. You haven't changed since you were 16.
Put, this is Ben.
How do you do?
How'd you do?
Well.
Well.
Wow.
Put, I didn't know you were a band leader.
Oh, you didn't? Well, I've been sort of out of touch. Been on tour in Europe for about 4 years.
In Europe? When did you become Freddie Baker?
Oh, well, Putnam Trimble didn't sound very continental.
And the musicians are really French?
Well, one of them is French-Canadian from Burlington. The rest are just boys from Local 802.
Oh, I just can't believe it. Put Trimble, a band leader.
You knew me when I was in my first band.
The American Legion Drum and Bugle Corps.
And I was disqualified from the state championship for having valves.
Oh, Put. Put, this is so wonderful.
Would you care for something, Monsieur Baker?
Champagne, Maurice, une bouteille de Mumm, très froid. Bonjour.
Oui, monsieur. Tout comme il faut.
Merci. Maurice.
Monsieur.
Une pièce de camembert. Pas si vieux.
Oui, monsieur.
Excuse me, Freddie.
Oh, yes?
I knew you wouldn't mind if I just popped over for a minute.
Oh?
I saw you in Paris, you know, at the Club Dixie Page.
Oh, you did?
When I heard Freddie Baker was right here in New York, why, I came all the way in from White Plains.
Well, that's quite an honor.
Oh, it is. I haven't been in since the matinee for the last Helen Hayes play. I have all your records.
You do? Well.
I wonder, would you mind? Well, it seems rather silly, but would you mind signing my menu?
No, pleasure.
Just write to my dear Hortense.
My dear Hortense. Ah, there you are.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Freddie. Oh, I just think you're darling.
I'm sorry, Liz.
Oh, Put, it's precious.
Makes me feel foolish. Oh, this means so much to me, seeing you again, Elizabeth.
Well.
Well.
We sat and talked all through the break. And then, after the midnight show, we talked some more. Put sat there in his sport coat with all the women in the room staring at him hungrily. And we talked about skiing on Hogback Mountain and Mr. Merston, our high school senior English teacher. We got home at 3 a.m. And that evening, when it all came out, Emily turned pale.
Freddie Baker? Mother, you know Freddie Baker?
Well, when I knew him, he was Put Trimble.
But he's the latest thing. Golly, He's later than Rosemary Clooney.
The lateness is catching. I think I'll go to bed early tonight.
What does he look like? I mean, is he as good-looking as his pictures?
Oh, it's hard to say, dear. I keep remembering him following the footsteps around our living room.
Did you go out with him, Mom?
Oh, once or twice. He was more sort of family friend.
It's hard to believe he could be that old. He's so good-looking.
If it will reassure you, dear, he's a little younger than I am.
Oh, thank goodness. Why did he call you Mother? Is he still in love with you?
Emily, that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Why?
Ben?
Well, what's ridiculous about it?
Well, it just is.
I think it's an awfully interesting idea.
Well, as a matter of fact, he asked me to see him tomorrow afternoon.
When was this?
When you were getting the coat.
Mother, he wants to see you alone?
Oh, I said I'd call him, but of course I won't go.
Why not?
Oh, Ben, really?
Oh, don't you think she should go, Emily?
Oh, yes.
Well, I feel a little silly about it. I'm sure he wants to talk about, old times.
Sure. Go ahead.
Ben, stop pushing me.
I'm not pushing you. Just your past catching up with you.
Oh, Mommy, do you have a past?
I hastened to reassure Emily that there were no skeletons in the closet, but I could see she preferred not to believe me. The next afternoon, she came to my room as I dressed and stared at the clothes I'd laid out on the bed.
Mother, you're not going to wear that.
Why not?
A tweed suit? A baggy tweed suit?
It's supposed to be baggy.
But you're going to meet Freddie Baker.
I prefer to think of him as Put Trimble. It helps my sense of propriety.
Mother, wear the black taffeta. The cocktail dress.
Oh, don't be silly, dear. Oh, never two stockings the same color.
Mom, do you think that maybe all these years he's remembered you? That even in Paris or London, he was still in love with you?
Emily, don't be silly. Do you really think the black taffeta would be better?
Oh, yes. And you could wear black stockings.
Black stockings? Certainly not. I'd look like something written by Offenbach.
Think of him, Mom. Famous, successful, and underneath empty. Alone. Always thinking of years ago.
The black stockings would go with the dress, wouldn't they?
Perfect. You going to use eyeshadow?
No, it just makes me look as if I'd been up late.
Do you suppose he'll tell you? Do you think he can finally come right out with it? Oh, Mom, it's heartbreaking.
This isn't too much shadow on the right lid, is it?
It's just perfect. It looks very beautiful and kind.
I'd better not be too kind. Well, zip me up. I took a cab to the Mohawk. I couldn't quite see taffeta and black stockings in the subway. Tot had a suite at the hotel, and we sat on a love seat and had coffee.
Remember how we used to sit on the porch, Elizabeth?
Mm-hmm.
I've thought of that many times.
You have?
You always remember the first girl you fall in love with?
I suppose you do.
No, you weren't the first one. There was a girl who sat in front of me in first grade. She wore black cotton stockings and had long braids.
Well, I used to hate those stockings.
But it didn't last. Not with her. I don't even remember her name. I remembered yours.
We were very good friends, Pat.
I suppose that's all it seemed. I never could say much in those days.
Well, you've been around since then?
Oh, sure. I've traveled a lot. I guess I've done pretty well for a kid who started in the Legion Band with an illegal instrument.
You've done very well, Pat.
You know, I don't think I've seen anyone from home for, 10 years. You have children, don't you, Elizabeth?
2.
How old?
15, that's Emily, and Pete, 10 years old. Would you like to see their pictures?
Oh, later. I want to talk to you, Elizabeth.
Yes?
Well, it's hard for me. Always was.
Well, that's all right, Pat. I'll understand.
Oh, I know you will. Elizabeth, you know, I always thought of you as my girl, even though I know I didn't have any reason to. When I heard you were married in New York, I was sort of left drifting.
Were you, Put?
I'd always thought that someday I could tell you, and then everything would be all right. Well, I guess I have now.
That was a long time ago.
But you haven't changed. I meant that.
Oh, I have, Put. I have changed.
Not to me. Elizabeth, I know I haven't any right to ask you, but I was sure you would understand. I'm in love now. I don't have any reason to think you'd care, but, well, I want to tell you. Elizabeth?
The children were out visiting when I got home. The living room was dark. I came in, hung up my coat, and stepped out of my shoes.
Liz?
Ben, what are you doing sitting in the dark?
Waiting for you. Emily and Pete are out somewhere.
Oh. Will you mind scrambled eggs for supper?
No.
I suppose we could go out.
Oh, scrambled eggs are fine.
Maybe waffles with ice cream.
Forget about supper. Will you please?
Well, I can't. I mean, we do have to eat.
Liz, stop playing cat and mouse.
What do you mean?
I came home early from the office this afternoon. I had a headache. No, that's not true. I was, well, just nervous.
What about?
This Freddie Baker.
Put?
It all sounds very simple when you say put.
It is simple, dear.
Liz, I'm sorry I started the whole thing.
What whole thing?
Well, I got sore when you were running yourself down at the party. I've been sitting here figuring it out. I wanted people to think that I'd done as well as anybody. Pretty self-centered way of putting it, isn't it?
Oh, no, dear.
Well, what happened?
Oh, Ben, it was so sweet.
Sweet? What was sweet?
Well, it was a very brief encounter. I went there, and we talked about how he'd been in love with me.
In love?
And I was very understanding. Ben, I was going to tell him that I was touched, and that I'd always treasure it. But I didn't tell him.
You didn't?
No, and I was glad I didn't.
What do you mean, glad?
You see, my darling.
Liz, for crying out loud.
He explained that he'd been in love with me when we were in high school, and that I was the only one he'd seen from home, and he wanted me to meet her.
Who her? Whom?
That nice girl who sang with the band, Georgia Manners. Put's going to marry her, and he wanted me to approve.
Oh, no. Liz, are you serious?
I could have cried. I was all ready to explain that I was in love with my husband. I'd always think kindly of him. And
Oh, Liz.
Darling, you were worried. You were actually worried.
Of course I was. I know how wonderful you are. I thought surely he would, too.
Oh, Ben, you should have seen him. He sat there chewing his nails. And Ben...
What?
He ate the whole bowl of fruit.
Ben and Liz Marriott will be back in a moment. In the meantime, let us extend an invitation on behalf of our stars, Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronyn, as well as the National Broadcasting Company, to all of you to drop by next week at this time for another half-hour observation and transcription of The Marriage, written by Ernest Kinoy. Evelyn Varden was heard as Abby, Denise Alexander as Emily. Others in the cast were William Lally, Kathleen Cordell, Leon Janney, Ann Diamond, Charmaine Allen, and Carl Weber as Put Trimble. The Marriage is an NBC Radio Network production directed by Edward King. This is Bob Denton speaking.
Oh, Ben, what am I going to tell Emily? I don't dare disillusion her.
Go on, disillusion her. What's good enough for her parents is good enough for her. Let her start early.
Good night, Ben.
Good night, darling.
Listen to The Hollywood Story next on the NBC Radio Network.
Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronyn in The Marriage. The sponsors of this program offer no endorsement of the opinions, philosophies, stubbornness, or confusion of the persons represented therein. However, with the conviction that marriage remains the most popular domestic arrangement between friendly people, NBC takes pleasure in presenting by transcription one of the most distinguished couples in the American theater, Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronyn as Liz and Ben Marriott in the new dramatic series, The Marriage.
Philosophers have always been found in odd walks of life. Socrates was a sandal maker, Spinoza a lens grinder, Omar a tent maker, and Mr. Stankovich sells newspapers. Of course, he isn't as famous as Socrates, except on our block. He runs the newsstand where I stop every morning on the way to my office. I generally plan to leave the house at least 10 minutes early because buying a newspaper from Mr. Stankovich is a dignified social ritual, like drinking tea with a mandarin.
Well, Mr. Marriott, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Stankovich.
Here you are. Times.
Anything in it you particularly recommend? Anything new in politics, Mr. Stankovich?
Politics. Mr. Marriott, politics is like a glass of tea.
Like what?
A glass of tea. It may look clear and sweet, but if you take a great big gulp, you burn yourself.
Don't you want to know what's happening in the world?
In the little time I got, I read the almanac. I figure if something in the newspaper is important, sooner or later it will show up in the World Almanac. And in the meantime, you are learning something interesting. Did you know in the Bronx Zoo there is a worm farm?
No. No, I can't say that I did.
It is under the lion house.
Oh, I see.
The platypus eats them.
The lions?
The worms.
I can see why you prefer the almanac.
Sure. In the papers is too much trouble. You know why?
No, I don't.
It's people going with no hats.
Do you think that's it?
Of course. The human head is not made to stand up against so much weather. All this hot and cold and air-conditioned cafeterias, that shrinks up the head.
You know, I've been noticing a little congestion. I thought it was sinus.
Nah, shrinking. It makes people irritable. They mumble more. Didn't you notice?
Yes, and revolving doors go round faster.
You are right.
I think I'll buy a beret this morning. Well, goodbye, Mr. Stankovich.
Mr. Marriott.
Yeah.
1 minute. You are a lawyer.
I am?
I wonder, maybe you could do me a favor. I mean, I can pay, but...
What's the matter? Are you in trouble?
My boy, Stanley. A policeman came to the house. He's got to go to court.
What's he done?
I don't know. I don't understand. I am very worried, Mr. Marriott.
Have you talked to the boy?
He don't listen to me no more. I don't see him hardly. I am in the stand till midnight. His mother, she's gone 3 years.
Oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Well, why should you know? Look, Mr. Marriott, I don't know about courts and judges, but I want Stanley should get every opportunity. The figures in the almanac on juvenile delinquency is very upsetting. I looked them up.
Of course, Mr. Stankovich. You bring the boy around tonight.
Well, I couldn't come with him, Mr. Marriott. I got to keep the stand open. But he could come along. I wouldn't be much help to you anyway.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Marriott. Thank you.
I thought of Mr. Stankovich's theory of irritability, and I could almost feel my head shrinking. All day I expected my hat to slide down over my ears. That night, I shipped the kids off to their rooms early.
But, Ben, you never have clients at the house.
This is a special client, a little boy.
Oh?
The newsdealer's son. He asked me to see him.
Maybe I'd better make some cocoa.
That'd be a nice idea, with a marshmallow on top. Now, that always loosens up kids.
Have you ever handled a children's case before?
No, but I ought to know about kids. I'll just treat him the way I treat Pete.
All right, Perry Mason.
Now, Liz, don't frighten the child. I'll get it.
Mr. Marriott?
Yes?
I'm Stan Stankovich.
Oh. Oh, yes, I was expecting someone a little... Well, come on in.
Thanks.
Come right in. Liz? This is Stanley.
It is?
Hiya.
How old are you, Stanley?
15. I'm big for my age. Smoke?
Thank you. Not now.
You mind if I do? It calms my nerves.
Oh, no, go right ahead.
Look, Counselor, if we're going to talk about this rap, maybe we better be alone, huh?
Oh, I was just going.
Liz, you better forget about making the,
Not even with a marshmallow on top?
Marshmallow?
Nothing. Now, Stanley, your father asked me to talk to you about this little trouble.
Now, wait a minute, Counselor. Pop is great for selling kids comic books, but what he knows about the law you could stick in your ear. Before I take you on, I want to ask a couple of questions. You had any experience?
Why, yes, I've had experience.
Criminal law or just wills and malarkey like that?
I've defended criminal cases.
What's your average?
Average?
Yeah. What's your won and loss percentage?
Against right or left-handed judges.
Oh, a wise guy, huh? Harry warned me you'd probably play it cagey.
Harry?
Oh, he's a friend of mine. He warned me to be careful what kind of a mouthpiece I picked up.
Well, you tell Harry that Jerry Giesler is busy and they made Leibowitz a judge, so you're stuck with me.
Yeah, I guess I am.
Now, maybe you better tell me what this is all about.
Oh, it's nothing. A technicality.
Like what?
Like I was out of school a couple of days.
You mean a truancy?
Well, not exactly. I stayed out because of the kid.
What kid?
The kid I beat up.
Is that it? Assault?
No. They thought I was trying to shake the kid down for protection money.
Were you?
Of course not. He owed me that money fair and square.
You did, eh? Why?
Well, he lost it in a poker game.
You were playing poker with him?
Certainly not.
Well, that's good.
I was dealing for the house. You know, you got to keep deadbeats in line or your reputation suffers. That's what Harry says.
Harry again?
Well, yeah, he owns half the game. We use the boys' locker room.
You were running a poker game in school?
You got to go where the money is.
In school?
Now, look, Counselor, don't you think you better get down to cases? I got to beat this rap. I could have my head handed to me.
Now, wait a minute, Stanley. You're going into children's court. They won't keel-haul you. They're going to help you.
Listen, Counselor, that kind of help I need like a hole in the head. Now, let's figure an angle.
After Stanley left, Liz fixed me a drink. I needed it badly.
Here you are, darling. Cocoa with a melted marshmallow.
The next morning, I met Stanley in the waiting room of children's court. The waiting room had a distinct Dickens flavor about it. It's always pretty crowded with worried mothers and fathers and crying children.
Over here, Counselor.
Morning, Stanley.
Now, what's good about it? Listen, Harry and I have the angle all figured out.
You do?
Self-defense. I say the other kid came at me with a knife.
Did he?
Well, what's the difference? It's a good angle, isn't it?
It's dandy. Come on, we'll be late. The courtroom was dark and high-ceilinged. The judge's bench was raised so that it towered over us. I've seen more cheerful surroundings than General Sessions at a murder trial. The attendant evidently came with the decor.
All right, kid, what are you in for? Who did you murder?
A big slob in a blue uniform with a chicken inspector's badge.
Why, you... What's your name?
Stankovich.
I asked the kid. Come on, I haven't got all day. Trouble with children these days, they got no manners.
The trouble with you is you got
Stanley. Excuse me, bailiff. Can you tell me how...
Can't you see I'm writing?
I just wanted to ask you...
I only got two hands. Why don't you teach the kid manners? Like father, like son.
I'm not his father. I'm his lawyer.
Congratulations. Now stop wasting my time. I'm busy.
The attendant left us in the dismal courtroom to wait. Finally, the judge came in, his hands full of papers. He was a round little man in a business suit. He came down in front of the high bench and spoke to Stanley.
What's your name, boy?
Stanley Stankovich.
They call you Stan?
Yeah, they do.
Mm-hmm. You the father?
I'm Ben Marriott, Your Honor, of counsel.
Oh. Well, you know, Counselor, although the children have the right of counsel, we don't often have lawyers in this court.
I gathered by this time that lawyers were not customary in children's court. Judge Fall started the long climb up to his bench and spent a solid 15 minutes juggling papers with a court attendant.
Garson, why wasn't the delinquency petition affixed to the record?
It's in the file, Your Honor.
Well, I don't see it.
Excuse me, Your Honor. This child...
Patience, Counselor, patience.
I'm representing this boy, sir. I don't think it does him any good to sit here and wait this way.
Oh, you don't, Counselor. Well, let me point out that this is not a criminal court. You are not here to win a case.
I know. I'm here to help this child. Presumably you are too, sir.
Yeah. Go on, Counselor.
This is my first experience here, Your Honor. I was able to see the whole procedure through the boy's eyes. Any disturbed child would be scared half out of his wits before he even got into your chamber.
You think so?
Of course. Even the architecture's frightening. And the attendants shuffled the children round like cattle. I looked up the Children's Court Act.
Oh.
This isn't what it had in mind at all.
So you looked up the Children's Court Act?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, let me congratulate you.
I beg your pardon?
Not many people bother to do that. Many lawyers, when they come in here, bring their habits from the criminal courts with them. A lawyer who wins a case in here loses a child.
From the shuffling around they get, I'm surprised that they're not lost before they ever get in here.
Mr. Marriott,
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
So am I. You're quite right. We're shamefully understaffed here. Untrained people, not enough probation officers, not enough... Oh, well, that doesn't help this young man. Stan, suppose you tell me all about it.
Oh, yes, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the... Oh, hey, I've been rooked. There ain't no jury.
Judge Fall adjudicated the case and ordered a temporary disposition. I explained it all to Stanley outside.
He what? I've been crossed. I've been sold out.
Now, Stanley...
I should have known. Harry warned me.
Now, wait a minute.
I could have beat this rap standing on my ear. Why didn't you pull that self-defense angle?
It wasn't true.
Well, what's the difference? You're a lawyer, aren't you?
I'm afraid that Harry must have given you a jaundiced view of the bar.
I should have known. What did you do, make a deal with the judge?
Stan, look. I want you to understand something. The judge and I weren't fighting each other.
You're darn tootin' you weren't. I ought to report you to the Bar Association.
What are you complaining about? The judge ordered probation, didn't he?
It's the principle of the thing. How am I ever going to face Harry after this?
I had a brief to work on at the office that night, and I didn't get home till late. Liz was asleep when I came in. I undressed very quietly, but I fumbled the shoes.
Oh, Ben? Ben, is that you?
Who were you expecting?
Oh, don't be silly. How did the Sankovich boy make out?
Well, the judge took his home situation into consideration. His father's never there, you know.
What happened?
Well, sometimes in a case like this, child is paroled in someone's custody.
Oh?
The judge explained that a sober, respectable, understanding citizen might give the boy a sense of responsibility and belonging. Somebody to sort of supply the interest and warmth he can't get at home.
That's a very wonderful idea. Where did they find such an impressive citizen?
No, it was easy.
It was?
Yeah. Me.
Ben, you mean you?
Me.
Well, what do you have to do?
Very simple. I'm responsible for him. I couldn't back out. You see, I'd made a speech about the responsibility of the citizen.
Oh, Ben.
It won't be so bad. He's a nice boy underneath. Way underneath.
But what do you have to do?
I'm supposed to provide a sense of belonging.
Belonging to what?
Yeah, that's a problem, isn't it? To us, I guess.
For how long?
There's another hearing scheduled in a month.
Well, what will we do with him?
I told him he could hang around here, that I'd take him places, play games with him. He liked that idea.
He did?
Yeah, he gave me the choice of blackjack or 7 cards. Used to the idea of Stanley as a more or less permanent adjunct to the Marriott household. The effects of his coming weren't long in appearing. Pete was the first.
Hi, Mom.
Oh, Pete. Don't drop your jacket on the floor.
I'll hang it up, Mom.
What have you got in your pocket, Pete? It sounded like a flat iron.
A roll of pennies. I got them at the candy store.
What would you want with a roll of pennies?
Stan says nickels are the best.
He does?
I didn't have enough money, though.
What do you use a roll of pennies for, dear?
Anybody knows that. Brass knucks.
Emily,
Yes, Daddy.
if you're going to get home from the movies after 11, you better take a front door key.
Oh, I won't need one, Daddy.
We're going to bed early, dear. I don't want to have to get up to answer the doorbell.
You won't. I'll get in.
Without a key?
It's easy. Stan showed me. You use a box.
Evidently an older or journeyman hoodlum. Harry exercised a good deal of influence and generally made his opinions all too clear.
Harry says you're a jerk.
Oh, he does he?
Yeah. He says you got sucked into this by that judge.
I didn't get sucked into anything. As a matter of fact, it's very nice having you around.
You don't mean that. I'm a delinquent.
I don't think so.
That's because I've been making a sucker out of you.
Have you?
For sure. Harry told me how. Be very good. Real polite. Then you turn in a good report to that loudmouth judge, and he takes me off probation. See?
Then why are you telling me about it now?
Because I don't want you to think I've been rehabilitated.
What's wrong with being rehabilitated?
If I wasn't playing choir boy, you wouldn't want me around your house.
Look, nobody's asking you to put on a lace collar and be little Lord Fauntleroy. I just think it pays to stay on the right side of the book. It's what you'd call an angle. Outside of that, I don't care what you do or who you hang around with.
Yeah, that's a lot of talk. If I brought Harry around, you'd throw him out on his ear.
If he's a friend of yours, bring him around.
You'd have him here?
Sure.
Tonight?
Tonight.
Oh, sure. If we do it your way. Play 20 questions and duck for apple.
Whatever you want to do.
Poker?
Well, now
Uh-huh.
Okay, poker. I think one of the reasons I went on with it was that I was curious to see this Harry. He sauntered in about 10 o'clock, and he brought his own deck.
Mr. Marriott, this is Harry.
Hiya.
Hello, Harry. This is Mrs. Marriott.
Hello, Harry.
I don't play poker with dames.
You don't?
Dames take my mind off the game. Know what I mean?
I think so. You're afraid I'm out of your league. You're not big enough to play with girls.
I can play in any league.
Okay, let's start.
What are the stakes?
What do you usually play for?
Nickel, dime, I'll make it easy on you.
All right.
Okay. Here we go.
Oh, how pretty. Can you teach me to do that?
Lady, it takes years. Got the deal? Go ahead, Stan.
7.
Jack.
King.
Well, what do you know? Ace.
Harry smiled as he dealt, a smug, professional smile. He was full of little bursts of spontaneous wit and humor.
Come on, Mr. Marriott. Put your money where your mouth is.
Nervous? Or are you in a hurry?
Sure. When this penny ante business is over, Stan and I got a real game to go to.
Oh, I'll rush.
How is Stan, Mr. Marriott? He been a good boy, just like the judge said?
Oh, cut it out, Harry.
Does he get a gold star if he brushes his teeth?
Are you playing cards or talking?
All right, if you want it that way.
I'll take 2 cards.
I'll take 3.
How about you, Harry?
I'll stand pat.
Liz and I, to put it mildly, didn't do well. It was getting along towards midnight, and we agreed it was the last hand. I had 3 kings and a queen for a kicker, and I drew another queen.
I fold.
I suppose I do, too.
You gonna bet?
Sure. Here.
See and raise your 10.
And 10?
And 10.
Mm-hmm.
Chicken.
And 10.
10 again.
All right. You're younger than I am. I'll see you.
Sure. 3 10s.
Well, sorry, Harry. I got a full house, kings over. I guess I'll...
Relax, Buster, relax. I got the other 10. That makes 4 of them.
4 10s?
Yeah, want to count them? Well, anytime you want another lesson, let me know. Let's go, Stan.
Oh, we'll have some coffee if you'll wait a minute.
No, thank you, lady. Stan.
Yeah, Harry?
You keep this chicken feed. I don't need it.
Gee. Okay, thanks, Harry.
Well, good night, folks. Come on, Stan.
Mr. Marriott, I'm sorry. I gotta go.
Go ahead, Stanley. I can't keep you.
Come on, Stan.
Okay, I'm coming.
Well,
Well,
how much was it?
oh, about $26 and change.
I'm afraid Harry is a little too much for us.
I'm afraid so. I didn't want Stan to think that we looked down on him, or his friends. I think it was the other way about.
Ben, tell me something.
Yes?
When you discard cards, are they supposed to go back in the deck?
No.
That's what Harry did. You know that 10 he used in the last hand? I discarded it before.
Well, that... I don't know why we should be surprised.
Stan must have known about it.
I suppose so. Well, we might as well go to bed.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Huh?
Do you hear something?
Who's that?
It's me, Mr. Marriott.
Stan.
I wanted to talk to you.
Yes?
It's about Harry. He cheated you.
I know.
He said you were setups. He said we could run rings around you.
I guess you did.
I guess you'll tell the judge.
What should I tell him?
That I'm no good? That I helped cheat you at cards?
Why did you come back, Stan?
It was Harry. He kept laughing. Kept saying how dumb Mr. Marriott was. And, well, he said things about you. I told him Mr. Marriott wasn't dumb, that he just looked like he was dumb.
Thank you, Stanley.
I mean, you're a lawyer and you know how to help people. I told him he ought to have respect. He said I sounded as dumb as you.
Thank you, Stan. That's very nice of you.
Well, I guess you got to turn me in for violation of parole.
No, I think we can just forget about the poker game.
What isn't that? Here, you better take this money.
Oh, no. You want it.
I'll figure it's a down payment. I'll need a lawyer.
Stanley, the case is over. The truancy...
That ain't it. I slugged a guy.
You did?
When?
Just now. Harry.
Harry?
Yeah. He didn't want me to give back the money, so I hit him.
Oh, Stanley.
Boy, he went out like a shot. He's probably still stiff.
That's quite a wallop you packed, Stan.
Why not, with a roll of nickels in my fist? So, Mr. Marriott, it looks like I'm going to need a little legal help.
Okay, Stan. Okay. You've got yourself a mouthpiece.
May we extend an invitation on behalf of our stars, Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronyn, as well as the National Broadcasting Company, to all of you to drop by next week at this time for another half-hour observation and transcription of The Marriage, written by Ernest Kinoy with Denise Alexander as Emily and David Pfeffer as Pete. Edwin Bruce was heard as Stan, William Lipton as Harry, Edgar Staley as the judge, Roger DeCoven as the attendant, and Louis Soren as Mr. Stankiewicz. The Marriage is an NBC Radio Network production directed by Edward King. This is Bob Denton speaking.
Ben, did you put the car away?
I left the keys in my pocket up here.
Then you got to go down again?
Oh, no, I put the car away.
Well, how did you unlock the door?
It's easy. With a bobby pin. Good night, Liz.
Good night, delinquent.
Brighten your kitchen with the drama on the NBC Radio Network.
Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronyn in The Marriage. With the conviction that marriage remains the most popular domestic arrangement between friendly people, NBC takes pleasure in presenting by transcription one of the most distinguished couples of the American theater, Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronyn, as Liz and Ben Marriott in the love and laughter of The Marriage.
On the day that my father retired from his position as elementary school principal, he announced to the family that he did not intend to run down like an 8-day clock at the end of the week. He signed up for handball lessons at the YMCA and matriculated at Rutgers University for a doctorate in ancient history. We don't see Father often. Occasionally, the family has a pleasant get-together after the funeral of some distant cousin. But recently, we saw quite a lot of him. My sister Virginia, that's the unmarried one, was off to California for 3 weeks, and we inherited Father. We were discussing it at dinner one night, the night he was scheduled to arrive.
What kind of grandpa got here?
Peter, try that again without benefit of mashed potatoes.
It was string beans.
Oh, I should have known. The vowels come out French.
Oh. What time does Grandpa get here?
I don't know. He's supposed to telephone from Penn Station.
Isn't Virginia bringing him in?
Well, why should she?
Ben, your father's 72.
Don't worry. He has all his faculties.
I thought he wasn't principal anymore. It's a different kind of faculty, Dopey.
Peter, it means thinking. When some people get very old, sometimes they don't think as well as they used to. They don't remember things. Their minds just slow down.
Oh. How old are you, Pop?
Never mind.
I wish we could figure out some way so he didn't have to sleep on the couch. Maybe we could give him our bed. Well, I could sleep on the couch, and you will...
Yeah, there's always a hook in the hall closet.
I'll get it, Mommy.
Thank you, dear.
Emily, well, Emily.
Well, it can't be.
It's Grandpa! Grandpa!
Hello.
Virginia wrote
Hello.
he was supposed to call.
Maybe he took a cab. Well, Father Marriott.
Elizabeth, my dear, good evening. Now, don't get up. Good evening, Benjamin.
Father, good evening.
Well, Emily. Are you big enough so I can start kissing you again?
Oh, Grandpa.
I presume I can shake hands with you, Peter?
If you don't mind, Grandpa.
Not at all. There.
Wow. What a grip.
Father, you were supposed to call from the station.
Did you take a taxi?
I walked.
What?
But Penn Station must be 30 blocks away.
31. Allowing for crosstown blocks, I estimated at 1 8/10 miles.
What'd you do it in, Grandpa?
An average of slightly under 2 1/2 miles per hour. Counting traffic lights, there was a stiff headwind.
Have you had dinner? It won't take me a minute to heat up the gravy.
No, thank you. I had sandwiches on the train. I brought them in a shoebox.
Are you sure? There's a whole roast left,
Now,
really.
please, Elizabeth.
I'll just fix a nice plate.
No.
No?
No, thank you. I really don't want you to trouble. It's a principle with me. Man has one quality which separates him from the animals. Does anyone know what it is?
Pop has his hand up.
Oh, I'm just scratching my ear.
Well, Benjamin, the quality which separates man from the animals...
What? Oh, see. Opposable thumb?
No, Benjamin. Primarily adaptability. I pride myself on it. I don't want you to trouble about me. I will adjust to you.
That's very sweet of you. But you will have coffee and dessert with it.
Coffee? Is it decaffeinated?
Oh, I'm afraid not.
Father, we really don't drink much coffee.
Well, I'll take a glass of milk if it's all right. If you have plenty for the children.
Oh, you can have mine, Grandpa.
Never mind, Pete. I'll get your glass of milk right now. Emily, will you clear?
Sure, Mom.
Oh, Elizabeth, is the coffee on the stove heating?
Yes, yes it is.
Then it wouldn't be too much additional trouble to replace the pot with a saucepan. Would it require turning on another unit?
No, it wouldn't.
Fine. Then I'll take my milk slightly warmed, as long as it's no additional trouble.
Oh, it's no trouble.
And just a scant teaspoon of honey.
Father always was an active conversationalist. I remember breakfast when I was little as a very educational experience. Now he sipped his warm milk and debated with Pete the merits of the leather clutch in the 1911 Rolls-Royce. He hadn't changed. I remember the precise gesture with which he told off on his fingers the major points of his discourse. I'd always remembered his hair as gray. The glass of his bifocals couldn't hide that sparkle in his eye. At 9 o'clock precisely, he took his thin gold watch from his vest pocket, snapped open the lid, then snapped it shut again.
It's been a long time, but I seem to remember 9 o'clock as the customary retiring hour for young gentlemen of Peter's age.
You mean I have to go to bed?
It's your bedtime, Pete.
Aw.
Go on now. Say goodnight to Grandfather.
Good night, Grandpa.
Good night, Peter.
Do I have to, Pop?
Go ahead, Pete. And no sneaking in a flashlight to read under the covers.
Okay. Good night.
At 10 o'clock, Emily went in to finish her homework. Liz and Father and I sat in the living room and talked. Father had just read an article on progressive trends in education.
In my school, I always saw to it that the children graduated knowing at least 100 facts of cardinal importance.
But who chose which 100 facts were the most important?
I did.
Oh. Did the children enjoy it?
I don't think so. From 1928 until I retired, I believe I was known to several generations of students as Old Picklehead. It used to appear on the walls of the washrooms with remarkable consistency. I had a custodian working an hour a day erasing it.
But do you think it was really worth it?
No. Children will write on walls in washrooms.
I mean the 100 facts.
Father, I don't think you mean to say that the purpose of education is only to...
Excuse me, Benjamin. I see it as exactly 11:27. I suggest we continue this discussion at breakfast.
Well, I just wanted to make this point. I think
you
it's all
do
right.
have to appear at your office tomorrow, Benjamin.
Well, yes, I do.
I think 11:30 is late enough then.
Really, Father, we don't
I
usually
find
go...
that regularity in sleeping schedules contributes to general peace of mind.
Well, I suppose we should get some sleep. Liz?
It is 11:27.
Yes, it is. 11:27.
11:28. Good night, Elizabeth. Good night, Benny.
Good night, Father.
Good night. Ben, are you asleep?
No.
Neither am I.
Really?
I'm not sleepy at all.
Why not?
Well, for one thing, we don't usually go to bed till around 12:30.
No, we can use the extra sleep.
What extra sleep? I'm going to turn on the light and read. What do you think?
About what?
Your father.
What should I think?
Ben, if I've heard you condemn the fact-stuffing school of education once, I've heard it 1,000 times.
What do you mean?
Well, you just sat there.
Well, now, you don't want me to argue with him, do you?
Why not?
Well, he's 72, and besides, it's not important. And, you know, there's something to what he says.
Is there?
Well, the kids don't learn enough facts. You know, Emily didn't know the date of the Norman invasion when Father asked her.
Were you embarrassed?
Oh, a little, sure.
You're lucky you didn't call on me. I probably wouldn't have known which country they invaded.
Now, cut it out, Liz. Say, what's the matter, anyway?
Oh, nothing. I don't really know. What's that?
Father must be going to bed. He believes in fresh air for sleeping.
That one was in the kitchen. Father has all the extra blankets on the couch.
Oh, we'll be warm enough.
At 15 degrees? Well, anyway, we'll stay fresh for months.
What is it? Benjamin.
Do you need anything? There are towels on the rack.
I just saw the light under your door. It's 12:05, Benjamin.
Oh. All right.
Good night, son.
Good night.
Benjamin.
Yes?
Do you think I could sneak in a flashlight and read under the covers?
Father was up early in the morning and made breakfast for the whole family.
There we are. Fresh squeezed orange juice, hot cereal, wheat cakes with molasses, and cocoa.
Cocoa? We usually have a cup of coffee.
Oh, just a 7-ounce cup. Ben can't get started in the morning without his coffee.
Dependency upon artificial stimulants is a weakness of character, Benjamin. I'll pour your cocoa.
I want my coffee.
Now, Liz, you don't want to hurt his feelings. After all, he did make the breakfast.
Without coffee.
I'll have it in a minute. Coffee contains caffeine and other injurious elements.
I want a nice hot cup of injurious elements with heavy cream.
1 cup of coffee isn't going to make as much difference as all that.
Oh, I know. You'll head for the nearest drugstore on the way to work, but I'm stuck here.
I'll bring you some tonight in a thermos.
Thanks.
Ah, here we are. 2 brimful piping hot cups of Marriott's Special Blend Cocoa. Well, are you having some trouble, Emily?
I sure am, Grandpa. Can you do a geometry problem when everything is unknown?
Oh, you set the proposition up wrong. Start by writing out the Pythagorean theorem. You do know it.
Well, not exactly offhand.
There's nothing offhand about mathematics.
Mr. Jacobson says geometry is like playing the piano. You have to practice.
And he's quite right. How about an hour of drill every weeknight after supper?
But a whole hour?
Oh, you'll soon find that mathematics is more thrilling than music or popular fiction.
I will?
If we attack this together in an organized manner, within a few weeks you'll be begging me to start you in advanced trigonometry.
Hello!
In the kitchen, Ben.
Don't bother fixing anything, Liz. I had a bite downtown.
How big a bite?
Just a sandwich and coffee.
Oh. How would you like to smuggle me in a few coffee beans in the heels of your
It
shoes?
wasn't very good coffee.
We had a lovely supper.
Well, that's fine.
Turnip greens.
Father's idea?
They're jam-packed with some obscure vitamin. Pete ate 2 portions.
What did you use, a bullwhip?
He saw Father pick up a chair by one leg and hold it at arm's length.
What's Emily doing?
Nightly geometry sessions.
I guess Father gets a kick out of sort of getting back to teaching.
Ben, Emily doesn't like geometry.
She'll learn from Father. If there's one thing he knows how to do, it's study drill.
Look, Ben, you've just got to do something. You've got to talk to him.
About what?
Well, everything.
No, Liz.
He is a sweet old man, I know, and he's so enthusiastic. But Ben, he has a whim of iron.
Well, he's just trying to be helpful.
He rearranged my linen closet this afternoon.
Did a good job, I bet.
Oh, yes, it's very neat, very efficient. But it's not the way I have my linen closet.
I know, Liz, but it really isn't very important, is it?
Ben, I have a perfect right to have my linen closet the way I want it.
It seems so trivial.
It is. That's what makes it important.
That's ridiculous.
No, it isn't, Ben. The way we do things belongs to us. It makes our family. My illogical linen closet is very precious to me.
Well, I can't tell Father that. I wouldn't know how to put it.
Put it some way.
It's only for 3 weeks.
Ben.
All right. All right, I'll talk to him. Tomorrow? You see, Father, I don't quite know how to put this. We've always been rather relaxed about things. We've been flexible.
I've noticed that, Ben. You were like that when you were a boy.
Was I?
Oh, yes. You always used to have your knickers down around your ankles.
My.
Refused to wear garters. Pull up your trouser leg.
What? Oh, trouser leg.
I thought so. Still no garters.
Well, I don't really need them, Father. I mean, these are rib-top socks.
Garters are a mark of a careful and prudent man.
Father, I don't use...
I'll buy you a pair tomorrow.
Father, I want to talk to you about, well, the whole question of our family routine.
I thought you'd want to talk about that, Benjamin. I enjoy helping you children. I'm glad I'm still needed. I think I'll run out and get those garters tonight. You can wear them to the office tomorrow.
Ben, did you talk to him?
Yes, I talked to him.
Well, what happened?
I have to wear garters. We lived through the week. Liz rebelled about Thursday breakfast and brewed herself a cup of coffee strong enough to tan leather. I suppose I was avoiding the issue. But I thought it was selfish to object to, well, so many little things. So I sipped my cocoa, straightened my garters, and went off to work. Friday night, things came to a head. Liz was in supervising Pete's bath.
All right, Emily, I'm ready now. I have the books all laid out on the dining room table.
What books, Grandpa?
Tonight we'll review factoring and...
Oh, no, Grandpa. Tonight's Friday night.
Yes, I know.
Well, I don't study on Friday night.
We agree to have our little drills every weeknight.
Well, not Friday.
Friday is still in the week.
Gee, Friday night.
The sooner we get to it, Emily, the sooner it'll be over.
Well, there's somebody... Well, Bobby Logan's coming over. He's already half an hour late.
Is that a tall boy, about 6'2", something like a whooping crane?
That's Bobby.
You see, I couldn't possibly have a geometry lesson tonight, Grandpa. He'll be here any minute.
He's already been here, about 35 minutes ago. You were showering, I believe. He went away.
He went away? Well, he couldn't.
We had a pleasant little chat.
Grandpa, what did you tell him?
I pointed out that you had a prior obligation to our little mathematical sessions. He seemed to be a very understanding boy. He said he didn't realize you thought geometry was that important.
Oh, no. Grandpa, you didn't. Not really.
Now, don't worry about it, my dear. I'm sure he understood the value of sticking to regular study schedules and respects you for it. Now, factoring.
Daddy. Daddy. Didn't you hear? Daddy, he sent Bobby away. I had a date. Oh, Grandpa, how could you?
Now, Emily, I think you're making quite a fuss over nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. You didn't have any right to do that. It isn't fair. Daddy!
I think we'd better start our little lesson.
You didn't have any right to send Bobby away. You don't have any right to make me do geometry on Friday night.
Emily, I have 10 problems set up. We might as well get to them.
No. No, I won't do any more geometry. I won't.
I think you'll have to stay in the house this weekend until you do.
You can't do that to me.
Now, let's get started.
You can't do that. You're not my father.
Emily.
Daddy, you can't do that. It isn't fair.
Now, listen, Emily. It's just a date. There'll be others. You see Bobby every day at school. Why don't you just do the problem?
No. No, I won't. Grandpa, you can't make me stay in the house. Daddy, you know it isn't fair. Daddy!
Emily, it really wouldn't take you very long to do the problem.
But it just isn't fair. He can't do that to me, can he?
If Grandfather said, I think you'll have to stay in if you don't. I mean...
Daddy, it isn't fair. It isn't fair, and you know it. You wouldn't do that to me. What's happened to you, Daddy?
Don't worry, Benjamin. Discipline is a hard thing to enforce, but it's necessary. Emily is a fine child, basically.
She was right. I wouldn't do that to her.
In time, a child learns.
It wasn't fair to humiliate her in front of Bobby and then punish her for protesting.
The most important thing is the sense of values. First things first. In our family, children have always learned to follow order and regulation.
This isn't your family, Father. It's mine. I'm Emily's father.
Of course, Benjamin. That's why I'm glad to see you being firm. Too many
Father,
parents...
you never will listen to me, will you? You never have. Well, you've got to now. You can't do this anymore. You can't make everything go your way. I tried to tell myself that it was trivial, that it wasn't important, but it is. I can't let you run Emily's life, or mine. I'll let it go on too long. Habit, I guess, but it's a habit we'd better break right now. Father, I'm sorry. Emily will not stay in this weekend, and she will not do those geometry problems because it isn't fair, and we don't handle our children that way.
Benjamin, drill and study never hurt a child, and firm discipline is necessary.
Oh, yes, of course. Sometimes you learn some very important things. Necessity is the argument of tyrants. William Pitt the Younger, 1779 to 1806. And rebellion to tyranny is obedience to God. Thomas Jefferson, 1743 to something or other. You remember those, Father? 2 of your 100 cardinal facts. I'm afraid that I forgot them for a moment.
Benny, I didn't mean to hurt Emily.
I know, Father. I'm sorry. It isn't your fault, really. You shouldn't have to change. It was up to me.
Ben, really, I'm a little confused. Was I too harsh on the child? Sometimes I forget, you know.
I know, Father. You love the kids, and they love you.
I didn't realize. I wanted to be helpful. Excuse me.
Wait a minute, Father. I think you'd better wait.
Emily.
Maybe you better let her alone for a while.
Emily, I have come to apologize.
You have?
I'm afraid I didn't understand. I'm told I had no right to send that boy away. If you like, I'll write a note of explanation.
A note? To Bobby?
Further, I'm afraid I enjoyed teaching again more than you enjoyed learning. On reflection, I believe I had no right to punish you. I apologize.
That's all right, Grandpa.
Emily, I thought I was helping you. It's very hard for an old man to realize that he isn't in charge. You see, for all those years, I had all the children in the school, and you aren't really angry with me, are you?
No, it just wasn't fair. It wasn't anything personal, Grandpa.
Thank you, Emily. Well, if it'll do any good, I'll go down to the drugstore and bring back a quart of ice cream.
Ice cream! Yay!
You know, we can hear that through 4 doors.
I'll heat up the coffee. I'll make cocoa.
Elizabeth, I'll have coffee.
Coffee, I'm told, goes very well with ice cream.
All right. Coffee.
Good. And, Elizabeth.
Yes?
While you're heating the coffee pot, perhaps there's room on the burners for a small saucepan of milk?
Of course there is.
Perhaps a little honey, a scant teaspoon?
Milk and honey. I'll be glad to.
Just float the egg yolk on top.
Egg yolk?
Separate it, of course. You can use the whites for meringue. You like meringue, I hope.
We'll learn to like it, Father.
That's good. I don't want to be any trouble at all.
Ben and Liz Marriott will be back in just a moment. In the meantime, let us extend an invitation on behalf of our stars, Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronyn, as well as the National Broadcasting Company, to all of you to drop by next week at this time for another half-hour observation and transcription of The Marriage, written by Ernest Kinoy, with Denise Alexander, heard as Emily, David Pepper as Pete, and Edwin Jerome as Father Marriott. To those of you who have been so generous in writing, either to the network or to the stars, to express your appreciation of The Marriage, Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronyn extend warm thanks.
Tonight, Joan Fontaine stars at NBC Star Playhouse on the NBC Radio Network.
Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronyn in The Marriage. With the conviction that marriage remains the most popular domestic arrangement between friendly people, NBC takes pleasure in presenting by transcription one of the most distinguished couples of the American theater, Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronyn, as Liz and Ben Marriott in the love and laughter of The Marriage.
When I was in college, I put in a hard year with Economics 1 and 2. The course seemed to consist of complicated graphs with the annual output of cast iron hinges plotted against the monthly rainfall in the Mississippi Valley. Somewhere along the line, the curve hit bottom, and that, we are told, was the operation of the business cycle, that unknown force that periodically slips a monkey wrench into the wheels of industry. I thought of that mysterious monkey wrench recently when trouble hit the firm of Connolly, Hochberg, Marriott, and Burns. However, the monkey wrench in this case was not quite as cosmic. Mr. Hochberg called me in one morning to tell me about it.
Sit down, Ben.
I drew the complaint on that Benson matter. I think they'll settle.
They'd be fools to. We haven't got a leg to stand on.
Oh, I don't know. You turned out a brilliant brief.
Yes, it is brilliant. Fine development of character. Sensitive prose. It would do very well in the Saturday Review of Literature. In the Circuit Court, not so good.
Maybe we could get it reprinted in a pocket edition with Mrs. Benson on the cover.
Ben, I didn't call you in to talk about the Benson complaint.
No?
Then, I am an old man. Actually, I've been an old man since I was 25. But that's neither here nor there. My doctor says, Hochberg, liquor you can take. Women, tobacco, rich food. But aggravation, no.
Something wrong, Mr. Hochberg?
Then, we are splitting up the farm.
What? You and Mr. Connolly? Why, you've worked together for years.
Ben Connolly is a fine lawyer. He's a gentleman. He's a man of honesty and integrity. But he is also a stubborn mule.
Oh. You had a difference of opinion?
Oh, no. We agreed. We are in an absolute agreement.
Well, then that's fine.
Absolute agreement. Connolly said continuing our partnership would be the biggest mistake of my career. And I said, I agree.
What started all this, Mr. Hochberg? You've always worked so well together.
Then, things have been said in a public elevator with the operator and 4 passengers, which should never even be said in the privacy of this room.
You mean you quarreled?
Basically, it was a personality clash.
What about?
It doesn't matter. It is immaterial and irrelevant.
Well, now, maybe if you talked it over with Mr. Connolly.
We have already talked it over at length. I have said my say, he has said his.
Well, you could go with me now to his office.
No.
Well, you could ask him to come in here.
No.
How about my office? It's halfway.
Halfway is too far. It's settled, Ben. We have no longer anything to discuss.
Well, what are you going to do?
When I was a young man, I was a violinist.
Oh?
Not a Heifetz or a Menuhin, but not a wedding fiddler either. Then I fell in love. My prospective father-in-law took one look at the violin kit and had a heart attack. He put me through law school. I have never regretted it. Mrs. Hochberg is a wonderful woman who is now on our second analyst. Wouldn't break my heart if I had some time to play again. Just for myself. I took the violin out last night and tuned it. Beautiful.
You mean you'd retire from the law?
Not exactly. I'd have a new firm. I brought you into this one, and we agreed you could always leave with me if you want to.
Why, of course, if it comes to that. But isn't there some way...
Don't waste your time, then. Oh, of course, Connolly has all the contacts. I never learned how to play golf. I don't like martinis, so the big clients would go with him.
Yes, I suppose they would. American Foundry account. Cluett, Washburn, Hassett, and Klein.
Don't add them up. Very depressing. We'd have a hard time for a year or two, Ben, but eventually we'd make out.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I told Connolly my children were grown up. I'm not an ambitious man. Don't threaten me, I said. I started defending pickpockets and suing the streetcar companies. I can go back to it.
Mr. Hochberg, they've replaced all the streetcars.
Oh. I can sue bus companies.
Mr. Hochberg, do you mind if I just speak to Mr. Connolly?
Go ahead. Such an old friend. Like a part of me. So many years.
But surely, if you feel that way about Mr. Connolly...
Connolly? A violin.
I found Mr. Connolly practicing 18-foot putts catty corner across his office. I tried to get to the bottom of the quarrel with Hochberg, but he seemed to feel the same way about it. The original point of difference, whatever it was buried beneath an exchange of invectives. I left Mr. Connolly making wedge shots over the desk into the wastepaper basket. Somehow the news spread through the office like a virus, and I saw several of the stenographers and the mailroom boy looking through the help wanted section in the Times. I took a look at my check stubs and decided not to add up the balance till I was feeling better. When I got home that night, I found the usual Marriott riot in progress.
You don't put ketchup in chicken soup. And why not? Mother!
No ketchup.
What's going on?
Pete and Emily decided I needed a rest. They're cooking supper.
Featuring ketchup consomme?
Pete is a little imaginative. He wanted to try sardines and peanut butter.
Oof.
Luckily, Emily is conservative. We're having scrambled eggs.
Hey, that's too much salt. I like too much salt.
We can go out for hamburgers later.
Oh, Ben, they're trying very hard. Emily baked a sort of a pie.
What is a sort of a pie?
Well, it's round.
Well, that's a good start.
Oh.
Something wrong?
Headache. There's nothing, really. Really nothing.
Oh, well, that's good. Oh, that suit came back from the cleaners.
That is all day. Right here over my eyes.
Did you take anything for it?
We'll go away, don't worry.
Oh, all right. They mended the pocket.
Sort of a migraine. Or sinus.
Well, let me get you an aspirin.
No, don't bother, really.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 2 aspirins.
Hey, you're putting curry powder on the pie. Well, I thought it was cinnamon.
Maybe 3 aspirins.
Is there something really wrong, Ben? Something at the office?
I don't want to talk about it yet, Liz.
Well, you do look worried, dear. And your resistance has been awfully low. You've had one cold after another.
I guess so.
Then I know just what you need.
I guess so. I'll gargle with it after supper.
No, not anything like that. You need a vacation.
I'm liable to get one. A nice, long one.
Oh, will you, Ben? We could go to Mexico. If you fly, you can do it in 2 weeks easily. Mike and Peg went last year. It'll probably cost not more than $500 or $600. I know it's extravagant.
Liz, you see, the thing I was worried about...
Well, that's it. Ben, we wouldn't have a worry in the world. We could just be irresponsible, shoot the works. It's just what you need now, darling.
Just what... Liz, we'd better have a little conference. You see, the problem... Oh, no. Oh, my head.
Mother, Daddy, dinner is served.
We'd better go in. Oh, dear. Ben, I didn't get your aspirin.
Never mind. I'll take them with a bicarb chaser after dinner. After a fine dinner of salt eggs and curried apple pie, Liz and I settled down to do the dishes while the kids went off to do homework, and I explained the precipice on which Connolly, Hochberg, Marriott, and Burns was balanced.
Yes, but what did they quarrel about?
I don't know. Neither of them would tell me.
Oh, it seems perfectly infantile.
I tried to convince both of them to talk it over, but they're both waiting for the other one to make the first move. Looks like they're really going to dissolve that firm.
What does that mean for us?
Well, I'd never be able to make a connection like that these days. Big firms take on kids, fresh out of school.
Could you open your own office?
Oh, that takes capital and contacts. I haven't got either.
Well, how about a corporation legal staff?
No, they want experts in tax law or labor law. I'm afraid the best thing to do would be just to go along with Hochberg. I could take up the cello and we could play duets.
Well, that wouldn't be so good financially, would it?
I probably wouldn't draw a nickel for the first year.
Oh, Ben. I am sorry about that Mexico thing.
No, you didn't know. Here, this fork is dirty.
It's got mustard on it. You didn't have anything tonight that had mustard in it.
I suspected the coffee.
Ben, we'll just have to sit down and figure out where we can cut down.
Well, it hasn't happened yet.
No, of course it hasn't.
Connolly and Hochberg can't be so foolish. They'll talk it out. They'll make it up.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
Foolish to hang crepe in advance. Probably won't even happen.
Of course it won't.
You know, if I walk across town instead of taking the bus, I can save at least $1.20 a week.
Ben? Are you awake? Haven't you been asleep?
Wait just a minute. 763, carries 1.
Ben, what are you doing?
Nothing. Go on back to sleep. Did I say 63?
Ben, it's 3:30 in the morning. This is no time for mental arithmetic.
Liz, do you know that in 1 year I spend $73 on haircuts, shoe shines, and razor blades?
Ben, you're not going to cut down on haircuts.
No, I suppose that is foolish. Liz, I've been thinking about the kids. Bound to affect them.
Well, there's no point in bothering them till it actually happens.
I suppose not. Well, go back to sleep.
All right. Ben?
Mm-hmm.
How many bobby pins do you suppose I use in a year?
We had the full-dress Ways and Means hearing scheduled for the next night. When I got home, Liz met me at the door.
Well, anything happened, Ben?
Connolly met Hochberg at the water cooler.
He did. Well, Well,
Each one took his pill and went back to his own office. They didn't say a word. After dinner, we got out our checkbooks and piled the unpaid bills on the table.
does it look bad, Ben?
Car insurance is due next month. My life insurance the month after.
All the Christmas bills are in this month's charge account.
All adds up to just one thing.
What?
If we cut out eating and move into Central Park, we may break even.
I'll get it. Mike!
Hi, Liz.
Ben, it's Mike and Ted. Come on in. Oh, we just dropped by, Liz. We're on our way to the theater. Hi, Ben.
Hi. Here, I'll just clear this stuff away.
Well, counting all your money, Ben?
After a fashion.
Why didn't you call, Peg? You could have dinner here.
Yeah, I'll fix your drink.
We haven't got time, really.
We just came up because I couldn't wait to tell you.
Tell us what?
Peg, you're not... Oh, of course I'm not. Oh, for goodness sake, Mike, tell them before it gets embarrassing.
Ben, I bet you thought I forgot, didn't you? Oh, that's what you were thinking.
No, I wasn't.
Oh, sure you were. It was over 3 months ago.
It was?
Remember I was telling about that friend of mine in the discount house?
I remember something about that.
Well, I didn't forget. I got it.
Oh. Oh, you got it. Well, that's nice.
Nice. Is that all you can say? Nice. Ben, it's 40 off.
Well, that's pretty far off.
Oh, you bet. They're shipping it straight to your place in Connecticut.
Wait a minute. They're shipping what?
The freezer, of course. A freezer.
Well, you remember, Ben, I told you about this fellow, Arthur Jonas.
Oh, no.
And you said you'd like to get your hands on a freezer for your place in Connecticut. Well, you got your hands on one.
But, Mike, I didn't think you'd remember.
I wrote it right down in my little book. It's a real buy, Ben. 40% off list price is not to be sneezed at.
Well, I didn't sneeze.
They'll bill you direct. What a price. $534.
500? What's it used for? Hockey games?
Hockey games?
But that isn't the best part. Liz, this will knock you clear off your feet. Oh, I'm staggering a little now. I arranged with our freezer food plan to stock it. $350 worth of frozen food. It's on its way to Connecticut now.
Hey,
I told Mike you'd want a good start. Well, this gave me one, all right. Oh, you'll love the freezer, Liz. You save so much money. It practically pays for itself.
Well, that's good. Now, look, Mike, I appreciate it very much,
Oh,
but I'm in no
don't
position...
thank me, Ben. It just embarrasses me.
Mike, it's 8:15, and you know you can't get a cab when it's raining.
Yeah, well, so long, Liz.
No, Mike, wait a minute. The bills...
Oh,
there's
don't
something
worry,
that-
Ben. I fixed it. They'll mail all the bills direct to you.
Bye, Liz. Bye, Ben.
Bye.
Well, looks like a cold winter. Actually, Liz and I had been avoiding the most obvious steps. While skimping on crosstown buses and bobby pins, we both studiously neglected to mention the one monster extravagance of the Marriott household, a place in Connecticut. We succeeded in deluding ourselves until the next night when reality caught up with us.
Ben, any new developments?
Neither of them came in today.
Well, maybe they met somewhere.
No, I don't think so. Connolly played 18 holes in Westchester, and Hochberg went to hear spaghetti at Carnegie Hall.
Looks bad.
Certainly does.
Hi, Mommy. Listen, I've got the most wonderful... Oh, hi, Daddy.
Hi.
Mommy, I've got the most wonderful idea, and Ellie's mother says it's perfectly all right, so it's just up to you. Is it all right with you?
Well, it's what all right? You left something out.
Did I? Oh, I guess so. Well, I was talking with Ellie at lunch about summers, and I said I wouldn't go to camp this year because, for one thing, I'm too old, and for another thing, we have the house in Connecticut. And then I had the idea.
About the house in Connecticut?
Sure. Why couldn't we have Ellie there for July at least? And maybe August?
Well, that's a lovely idea, Emily, but...
We went over to Ellie's after school, and her mother says it's fine if it's all right with you. We spend the whole afternoon planning it. Am I old enough to get a driver's license in Connecticut?
I'm afraid not, dear.
Oh. Well, we'll manage somehow.
Liz, don't you think we'd better
I
go in?
suppose so. We can't avoid it, can we?
Emily, about the house.
Ellie's parents can't afford sending her somewhere for the summer. She spent all last July and August in the city. Isn't that awful? I can't imagine it. I'd just die.
Emily, darling, we may be selling the house in Connecticut. We've sort of decided not to have a summer place.
Daddy. But you can't. I've already invited Ellie.
Well, you'll have to explain, dear.
I think it's very unilateral of you to do this without consulting me.
Look, Emily, your mother and I are still making the decisions in this household.
Well, I'm part of the family, too. And if you think I'm going to spend the summer on the subway going to Coney Island, you're crazy.
Now, wait a minute, Emily.
You
listen
go
to
wash
me.
up for supper, Emily.
But that
We'll
attitude
talk
is...
about this later.
Why bother talking to me at all? I don't count.
Why, the spoiled brat.
It isn't going to be easy.
By summer, we may not even have that subway fare to Coney Island.
Now, Ben, you're exaggerating.
What would happen if we did have to cut so far down? She'd curl up like a potato chip. Suppose Pete couldn't get all those model cars he builds. Suppose Emily didn't have a new sweater every time she's bored with the old one.
They've never had to face the problem, Ben.
Well, they do now. Liz, we must have made things far too easy for those kids.
Do you really think it's that serious?
Yes, I do. Lots of families go through things like this. It's happening now in Detroit, other places. But the whole family works together. Whatever sacrifices they make together.
Emily was right. We didn't discuss it with her.
You know, you can tell that by her attitude.
Maybe we ought to have a serious talk with her about the whole problem.
Oh, it's no use, Liz. I just don't feel up to it. I think I'll go in and lie down before supper. I went into the bedroom and stretched out in the dark. I was disappointed in Emily. I wanted to tell her that it wouldn't matter, that as long as we stayed a family, as long as we loved each other and understood each other, it wouldn't matter what happened. But I was frightened now that the kids might not understand, and then I suppose I felt a little guilty, as if somehow the whole thing were my fault. I wanted Emily to have the summer in the country. I wanted Pete to have every exorbitant car model he coveted. I began to wonder if our family put too high a value on things. Perhaps the children were a mirror of my own false standards. And I hated that reflection of myself. If they were empty, it was, well, because I'd given them nothing to fill a void. We didn't talk about it that evening. Liz and I watched television with glazed eyes, and I sat through the Late Show, Charlie Chan and the Collegiate Murders. Just because I couldn't face going to bed. Lying there, thinking. When I came home the next afternoon from the office, I barely got my hat and coat off when I was mobbed.
Daddy, you have to sign these here and here and here.
Sign what? What are all these papers?
They have to be signed by your parent or guardian in the school.
What's going on? New York State Department. What is this?
My working papers.
Working papers? Liz!
Hello, darling. The macaroni casserole will be ready in 15 minutes.
What are you doing with working papers, Emily?
Well, it's a state law.
I know it is, but why you?
I got a job at school, washing bottles and test tubes in a chem lab. It pays 40 cents an hour.
Well, that's not bad. Liz, what happened?
Mom had a talk with us this morning. I told the kids in school we'd probably go on relief.
Peter, we're not going on relief.
You never can tell. I'm awfully sorry about the house and what I said, Daddy, but gee, I didn't know.
I know, Emily. I know you didn't.
I mean, if we're poor, well, that's different.
Pete and I figured that a macaroni casserole supper will cost us 18 cents apiece.
And I've got the summer all figured out. Bobby Logan's mother would need somebody to help in their cheese store. Daddy, you just sign the papers here, here, and over here. Hey, Pop, do you think there's more money in shoe shining or delivering for the drugstore?
Pete, I don't think either will be necessary. And if you'll have a look out on the hall table, there's a steak that we can have with that macaroni.
A steak? Ben, what happened?
Hochberg and Connolly met on neutral territory, the men's washroom.
You mean they made up?
They had to.
Oh.
Hochberg's daughter had a baby, and Connolly's youngest son's getting married. They just had to brag to each other. Hochberg gave Connolly a cigar, Connolly bought Hochberg a drink, and the whole thing is all over.
Oh, Ben! Ben, darling, that's wonderful.
You mean we're not poor? We won't go on relief?
That's right. Come on, let's have a big family celebration.
Hooray!
Now what's the matter?
We had it all figured out to be so brave. And now that's all spoiled.
Well, we'll just have to keep our heads up high and suffer through with an adequate income.
We certainly will.
Daddy?
Yes?
I think I'll keep that lab job. After all, even if we're not going to be poor, there's no reason why I shouldn't take care of my own spending money. After all, I'm a part of the family.
Emily, I think that's a wonderful idea.
Besides, I'll have an independent income.
Darling, I always wanted a woman with an independent income in the family.
Oh, Daddy.
Come on now. Let's get at that 18-cent macaroni and the $4 steak.
I've been thinking, maybe I should keep that job in Bobby Logan's mother's store.
All summer? Emily, you don't have to be as independent as that.
Oh, it isn't the money. I was thinking with Bobby working there all summer, there might be other advantages.
I imagine there would be.
Good night, Mommy. Daddy.
Good night, Emily.
Good night, darling.
James Stewart stars in The Six-Shooter following the news on the NBC Radio Network.
Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronyn in The Marriage. The sponsors of this program offer no endorsement of the opinions, philosophies, stubbornness, or confusion of the persons represented therein. However, with the conviction that marriage remains the most popular domestic arrangement between friendly people, NBC takes pleasure in presenting by transcription one of the most distinguished couples of the American theater, Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronyn as Liz and Ben Marriott in the new dramatic series, The Marriage.
The law firm I work for isn't particularly colorful. We have no lean, rural philosopher peeling apples into his plug hat with his feet on the desk. We have no hard-drinking, superbly muscled young man who solves murders one jump ahead of the police. Connolly, the senior partner, is fat, 57, and an expert in corporation tax law. Hochberg, the junior, is an excellent violinist and only went into law because his father-in-law convinced him that a musician couldn't make much of a living. But the other day, an unusual case did come into the office, and I was assigned. I was still thinking about it at home that night as Liz and I lingered over the coffee.
Ben, aren't you feeling well?
Huh?
You've been sitting there with a vacant stare all through dinner.
I haven't.
Then why did you just pour French dressing in your coffee?
Did I? Yeah.
I'll get you another cup. Is there something wrong?
No, nothing wrong.
You just like French dressing in your coffee.
I was thinking.
Oh.
Liz, we could use a larger apartment, couldn't we? With an extra room as a study?
Well, I suppose so.
Now, don't go counting on it, Liz. I mean, you can't build up a lot of hopes on a wild promise.
I'm not building anything on anything. What are you talking about?
Well, we have a new client. Jake Haggister.
Oh?
Don't you get the picture?
Is there a picture?
Liz, Haggister is big business. He's got a tremendous corporate structure.
Has he tried dieting?
Liz, it's our big chance. If I handle this case successfully, we might get the business into the firm. Or Haggister might even like my work well enough to... I can't think about that.
You can't? You've got your hand on the French dressing again.
Maybe I better drink it black.
Ben, what is this case?
Well, I'm not supposed to discuss it.
Oh, all right.
But it's very interesting.
Oh, if you can't tell me, it's all right.
I suppose I could give you an outline.
Oh, Ben, I don't want you violating professional practice on my account.
Can't I just give you a hint?
Oh, no.
A little hint?
Ben, there is such a thing as the canon of ethics.
Oh, yes. Liz, this coffee's stone cold.
Darling, you're drinking the cream.
I hadn't exactly hidden anything from Liz about Jake Haggister. I'd just sort of accentuated the positives. The negatives turned up after dinner when the doorbell rang.
Yes?
Marriott,
Yes.
I'm Barney.
Oh.
You know Barney.
Who is it, Liz?
Barney.
Barney?
Yeah, Barney.
Anything I can do for you?
Well, I come for the, well, you know.
What are you talking about?
You want me to say it in front of the lady?
Go ahead.
I come for the briefs.
Oh, the briefs.
Excuse me.
You mean the legal papers for Mr. Haggister, don't you?
Paper? Oh, yeah, legal papers.
Come in. I'll have to get them together. You wait just a minute. I'll go get them in the other room.
Don't you hurry. I ain't going nowhere.
Would you like an ashtray?
No, that's all right, lady. The cigar ain't lit. I just like to chew it a while after dinner, you know.
Oh. Do you work for Mr. Haggister?
Oh, Mr. Haggister and me are like this. The thumb is Mr. Haggister.
I caught the resemblance.
Oh, sure. We're very close. Well, I seen him just tonight at the club.
You belong to the same club?
Sure, the 12th Ward Comanche Club. Jake... You don't mind if I call Mr. Haggister Jake, huh?
Oh, no. I think it's delightfully informal of you.
Yeah. It always pays to do Jake Haggister a favor. He's a very great man. He's a prince. He's a real prince.
You think well of him.
Oh, lady, you could look all over the West Side. You wouldn't find a prince like Jake Haggister. Why, if you're a friend of his, it's the red carpet. A hack license, bail bond, a rap squared. Well, all the things you'd want a friend to do for you.
The little thing.
Yeah, it's a little... Of course, I've done things for Jake, like election days.
That's your busy time?
Oh, like a bee, like a little bee. Run around, pole to pole. I remember once in 1928, I voted 58 times. I was exhausted.
Voting was that tiring?
What, do you think it's easy, bending over, copying names off all them gravestones? You know, a funny thing happened that year? I run across my old man's stone.
Did you vote for him?
Well, certainly not. I got too much respect.
Mr. Haggister is in politics. Does he hold office?
Well, not since LaGuardia.
What seems to be his trouble now? I mean, this trial.
Which one, lady?
Oh, is there more than one?
Lady, Mr. Haggister is in court so often, one of the bailiffs thought he was the judge.
This case that Mr. Marriott has handled.
Oh, that's nothing. Don't you believe a word of it.
Well, I haven't heard a word of it.
Oh, people are always jealous of a man like Mr. Haggister. Well, the little people, you know. You can't believe what they say.
Well, what do they say?
Well, that story that he trucked out 5 loads of furniture from that building before the wreckers moved in, that isn't true.
It isn't?
Oh, no. What, there wasn't more than one lousy truckload in the whole building.
Oh.
Yeah. And that rumor about the marble statue, what did they say he took it for his lawn? That's a lie.
Is it?
Oh, sure. He wouldn't have that statue. Why, he made him take it back. Now, I've seen it. Shocking. Lady, would you believe that statue was in its, birthday suit?
I'd love to see a marble statue in a birthday suit.
Civic integrity, it was called. Can you imagine civic integrity, stark, mother naked, 14 foot tall?
It's a fascinating thought.
I got the papers here. They weren't in order. You'll take them right to Mr. Haggister.
Oh, sure thing.
Tell him I've looked up the law. He was right about that statue.
You're telling me it's a disgrace, 14 foot without a stitch.
What was he talking about?
Civic integrity.
Liz looked at me rather strangely for the rest of the evening. And finally, just before bedtime, she came out with it.
Ben.
Yes?
This Jake Haggister, did he
Did he what?
steal civic integrity?
Now, the contract didn't specify that he was not entitled to the salvage.
Ben, I'm not trying to debate how many lawyers can stand on the head of a pin. Was it a crooked deal or wasn't it?
Now, you're not being fair, Liz. You don't understand about the law. Everyone is entitled to counsel. The poorest, downtrodden pushcart peddler
I
can
gather Jake Haggister isn't exactly a pushcart peddler.
No, but you can't discriminate against a man just because he happens to be a millionaire.
Ben, I may not know the law, but are you really going to defend a crooked grafter when you know he's guilty?
A man is innocent until he's proved guilty. He has the right to a fair trial, the full benefit of the law, and a good counsel.
Haggister has plenty of lawyers. Why do you have to get mixed up with it?
Well, we handled a little something like this once before. Haggister knows that we dug up a very telling case in point.
You mean a loophole?
Liz, you can't call a legal precedent a loophole.
But it's all right to call a loophole a legal precedent.
Will you look at the merits of the case? Haggister is a millionaire. All of this stuff he's alleged to have appropriated doesn't amount to peanuts. Now, does that make sense to you?
It certainly doesn't. He should give it right back.
This isn't any more important to Jake Haggister than sneaking into the subway.
Well, I've never sneaked into the subway.
Did you ever take an extra nickel you found in the coin slot of a paid telephone?
Well, I've never found one.
But you looked.
Well, that's not the point.
But it is the point. Now, look, Liz. The world just doesn't run on copybook morality. There's always been Jake Haggister. That's the way the world is. You've got to